What's up, sons? It's Blind Rod with Son of a Tech. Once again, I'm happy to have Shai back on the channel with Kaspa, and he's going to go over everything Kaspa. I have a ton of questions, specifically, I think, surrounding, the chromatic block rewards, block reward reduction, how that's going to interact with everything, the blocks per second, and how that's going to help with the transition in proof of work from GPUs to ASICs and that sort of thing. So I'm very happy to have you on here today, Shai. Thanks for joining me.
Hey Matt, it's great to be here.
Let me get your Twitter handle updated here real quick.
Sure.
And then we'll go from there. So we've been talking.
Not affiliated with Dynex.
Not affiliated with Dynex.
Are gonna
That's left over.
Later.
So we've been talking a little bit on Twitter. It's really hard to communicate, I think, on Twitter and get everything out in the open and actually articulate the questions, articulate the answers. And I think there are some great answers that you have to some of this. Some of these questions that are pending, because really the catalyst for all of this at the end of the day that's been going on is this kind of sooner than expected possibility of ASICS hitting the Kaspa network, right? That's what we're dealing with. So give me your thoughts on that, because obviously we've seen Red Panda Mining, for example, here more recently get an example or a test unit from this Ice River company. What are your thoughts on Ice River, the validity of their claims, and do you see any red flags right now that maybe you would want to let people know about?
Sure. Okay, before I start, I just want to give the usual disclaimer that Kaspa is a community project. Everything I say right now represents only me and my opinions. Eventually, decisions are going to be made by the community. I hope that the community appreciates my thoughts, but I don't represent Kaspa as a whole in any way, and nobody does. And with that being said, we can start. Now, about Ice River, I'll say it like this. I don't know Ice River. I don't know whether they are legit or not. I don't want to accuse anyone of anything. But I'm not thoroughly convinced at this point that there are ASICs. Now, I must say that I don't object to the idea that there are ASICs. I'm not trying to convince people that ASICs do not exist. It's just that I want people to be cautious. That's all.
Right. I think we're on the same page.
Yes. For now, the evidence we have are videos that show these ASICs running. Now, the thing is, and again, I'm not saying this is what actually happened. I'm saying it's a possibility that we can discount. These ASICs, they are managed. They are remotely managed by software. And you can't really know if the hashes, how do they measure hashes? You monitor an address and you see how much Kaspa goes into it. And it could be, it's a possibility, like if I was a scammer, what I would do is have my box make a lot of noises and lights while I use external sources like my own rigs or like rented hash power to mine to that address and create this illusion of an ASIC. So again, I have no idea who these guys are. They could be completely legit, but technically it's a possibility that they are putting a lot of resources into creating this facade of ASICs so that they could disappear after people pay for pre-orders. Again, not accusing anyone. I just want people to be careful.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of the things there is there's no way to claw back your purchase of these units right now, right? So all the purchases are direct bank transfers or direct crypto transfers, which means that you as a consumer have no way to claw that back in the event that it's not an actual product, right? So just from consumer safety perspective, if you ever see anything like that across the board, it should raise a red flag of like, Okay, well,
Exactly.
at the end of the
And it's a
day,
very
I
new
can't get my money
company.
back. Yeah.
Yes, it's a new company. It basically emerged out of thin air like 5 minutes ago. They don't have a reputation you can count on, so just be careful. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. So let's talk
And
about ASICS and Kaspa. You know, we've already seen FPGAs come out on Kaspa, you know, really
mhm,
take over from an efficiency standpoint with K heavy hash. It's, you know, from my perspective as a miner, I'm not personally going to mine Kaspa with, you know, uh, inefficient hardware when I know that there's more efficient hardware to mine it with, right? So I'm going to put the equipment that I own that's efficient on Kaspa. That's just the business decision that I make in my own
yes.
personal farm, right? But
Mhm.
that being said, Kaspa has maintained what I would consider a pretty reasonable profitability for GPUs and less efficient hardware, even though that there's more efficient hardware on the network right now. What do you think the reasons for that are behind that?
First of all, it's basic math. Say, I don't know, that when we were at 800 Tera, it was pure GPUs. And now there are, say, 100 or 200 ASICs, which bumped us up from 800 Tera to a petabyte. Now, 100 to 200 units sounds like a lot, but essentially the return of the investment that you get is decreased by, it hasn't decreased by 95%, it decreased by 20%. So I get that it's not usable, it's not negligible at all. But the thing is that you'd have to have thousands of units on the network before GPU become completely non-competitive at this at this scale of mining that we are at right now.
Right.
So I think, yeah, the ASICs. Think it from your point of view. What's the difference between 200 ASICs, which increase the global hash rate by 200 Tera, and 200,000 GPUs, which increase the global hash rates by 200 Tera?
Right.
The
Well,
only difference is that you're afraid that in the future there would be more ASICs, which will make it GPUs less and less competitive,
I
right?
think the argument is a little, well, so from an individual miner's perspective, it's less profit, right? Less revenue.
Mhm,
From a network perspective, I think the worry is less decentralization, right? So
mhm,
it depends on where you want to attack that angle from. I think it's pretty easy to say that if you're a GPU miner and you're less profitable on one coin than another, then go mine the other coin. I don't see any reason to argue over that at any
yeah.
point. Now, for the health of the network for Kaspa, the question does become, is there, you know, is there a risk that if ASICs become too powerful too early on, that there's a threat to decentralization, right?
Okay, so you're right that there are 2 points of views to this discussion, the miner point of view and the network point of view. And I kind of consider you like my link to the miners community. I don't know the miners community from inside. I get that you are a miner and your crowd is a crowd of miners, and mostly miners will probably watch this, miners or Kaspa fans.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to mostly talk to this point of view of the
Okay.
miner. And I get why some people aren't too happy about the emergence of ASICs.
Yeah.
And I think that GPU mining, the security that it gives to the network, it's not too stable if you're talking about network health, because miners can hop from coins to coins. And I would even say something stronger, they should. We can't rely on miners to keep mining our network even when it becomes unprofitable for our security. I'm not judgmental about miners being opportunistic. You are people who want to make money and pay your bills, and it's eventually we are all amicable and we all like each other, but it's business. I can't expect you to lose money to secure my network. You
Right.
have to have like a clear incentive to do so. And if the next cool coin comes along, which is very profitable to mine, then miners are gonna flock to it and reduce Kaspa's security, and that's fine. I can't blame the miners for doing so, but our security can rely on miners for that reason. The end game has to be ASICs, because ASICs are more stable. And this is a consideration which is somewhat a bit unique to Kaspa, because we have very, very fast confirmations. So very fast confirmations means that we are more sensitive to unstable hash rate.
Okay. And that means so to put that into perspective, basically, if you have an ASIC, the reason it's more stable is traditionally that ASIC is going to be purpose built to mine one single algorithm, which means the likelihood of it moving off and back on the network is lower than a GPU that has access to multiple networks to mine, right?
Exactly.
So that's the reason for the stability. And then when we kind of follow up that idea for that being better for Kaspa specifically, it's because Kaspa has a unique problem that it's trying to solve, which is speed of blocks. And because
Speed of blocks, confirmation times, fast confirmations.
Okay, fast confirmation times. Okay, thanks for that clarification. So because of the fast confirmation times, then it's more stable with an ASIC on there because you aren't having as much move off, and you need that stability because you're trying to get that higher throughput for confirmation times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, I mean, that makes sense. I completely understand the reasoning for it or behind it. The question then that I have that follows up to that, I mean, it seems like you don't want to talk about the decentralization factor. Am I clear on that?
We will get heavily into decentralization. It's a very important aspect.
Okay.
But all in due time.
Okay. Well, what I mean, do we want to follow up with that then? Like, as far as is there a sweet spot for this transition for Kaspa based on the chromatic emissions that you would think there would be for a transition between one piece of mining hardware and the next?
Mathematically, a sweet spot exists, but I can't tell you exactly what it is.
Okay.
And the thought I had in mind when we when we discussed the emission schedule was that Bitcoin was fully ASIC dominated by 2015, by the start of 2015. And at that time, about 60% of the emission was already in circulation. We thought that we want to be, in a sense, later than Bitcoin.
Okay.
I hoped, again, people have varying opinions. I wanted the ASICs to become dominant when we are at about 80 or 90% of emission in circulation. If it's true that ASICs are already underway and say that they become dominant by the end of year, then we almost made it. It's more like 70 to 80%, depends on how much was mined by ASICs during the year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it seems very reasonable to me because the ASICs miners have to have a cap too, because operating an ASIC still costs money, right? You do have some electricity costs. You still need the space for that. You still need to fix them, replace them, etc., etc.
The cooling, all of that, yeah.
Yes, and the incentive, well, ASIC miners are typically have much less selling pressure than GPU miners, and they tend to hold more. And what makes the major incentives for ASIC miners to keep their ASICs running is that they have their cut and they want it to retain its value. They support the network not because like the economic incentive is not what they will mine because the rewards are diminishing very quickly. It's that if they don't mine, then the coin that they do own gets devalued, and that's the loss that they have if they don't turn on the rigs.
Right. Interesting. Trying to think. I mean, I think that covers everything as far as like the questions. I think it's articulate. I think you articulate it well enough. I don't think I disagree with you on any point. I think I still, you know, I think that there is, we both even agree on the fact that like there probably is a sweet spot. You know, you don't want to move into
Mhm.
ASICS too quickly because I think that can be detrimental to the
Yes.
network. I, I'm still debating whether I like FPGAs at all or not. I tend to not like the industry that much just because of the way it blocks people from access. In
Mhm.
fact, I think FPGAs block access even more than ASICs, which is arguably worse for networks at the end of the day. The
Mhm.
only difference being that FPGAs kind of have this low production amount or quantity, right? Meaning that even though it is, you know, behind this kind of walled garden, it it's not enough to damage a network, right? Um, per se. But I do think that there's been some selling pressure from FPGA manufacturers on Kaspa here recently. Um, and it did seem like there was also a huge sell off of these FPGA units over the past 2 weeks. I'm not clear on the reason for it exactly, but what I saw or observed was basically calls from these, you know, FPGA or distributors to sell off a bunch of FPGA units on, you know, to consumers real quick, and then right after that saw a lot of these wallets that were being mined to with FPGA units begin to dump onto the markets, right? Um, so I don't know that FPGAs are healthy in general, but I think like or to add to that, I think that they don't have enough of them to actually hurt Kaspa, right? Like I think Kaspa's recovered from that from a price perspective.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. It's something I've been kind of like struggling with, kind of thinking about how I actually feel about that as a market, right?
Well, what you said about the FPGA industry, I really don't have an opinion about. I'm not familiar with this industry. Again, I'm not a miner. I've never held an FPGA. I didn't even hear about FPGAs before the mainnet launched.
Yeah.
And I learned, since mainnet launch, I've learned about fields I didn't even know existed within crypto space. I used to be a mathematician.
Yeah.
And regarding the price action, now I don't like to talk about price. I don't like to talk about charts, but I'm not sure that there is this huge dump everyone talks about at all. I think it's just a natural correction. A month ago, we were at our all-time high, which was 2/3 of the price today.
Right.
That doesn't sound to me like a huge drop. It sounds to me like a correction. We are now 150% of the all-time high of a month ago. It sounds reasonable to me. There are flows, there are ebbs. I don't know. I don't. This chart looks healthy to my amateur eyes. I see people selling. Fine, people are gonna take profit. That's fine. That's healthy in the long run. We see a decrease in the number of wallets with more than 100 million Kaspa. I think the number dropped from 8 to 5 or something. The coin gets distributed. It's very healthy for the coins to get distributed, but it comes with selling pressure, which does have a downward price action. It's
Yeah.
just a natural flow of things. I don't see anything really abnormal here.
No, I think I agree. I think the only part was that initial weekend where you did see, you know, 100 million immediate dump and a dump of the binding units, and that's where I get a little suspicious, right? I'm like, well, what's
Yeah, well,
really going on
there
there?
are people on Twitter and on the Telegram groups which actually go and monitor wallets. I never double check them, but what I've heard is essentially that a single big wallet, like I think it was a 50 million wallet or something,
Yeah.
dumped. And then we've seen a lot of small wallets dumping, like they describe it as the fish are panicking or something like
Yeah.
that. There is this entire marine biology nomenclature of how much coin you have. And I don't know, it sounds reasonable to me. I never understand price dynamics. I don't think anyone actually does.
Yeah.
But I don't see
Draw
here
the little
anything.
pictures on it
Yeah.
and
I
move
was
on.
much more concerned when we dropped by 75% after being listed to Maxi. But I was less concerned because it was a more detrimental situation and just because it was my first huge drop.
Yeah.
Again, I have never been so invested in crypto before. But again, it just seems like the natural flow of things. It makes sense. I don't see anything here that
Yeah. Let's talk about some
bothers my
exciting
sleep.
stuff. Alpha release was successful, or appears to be successful so
Mhm.
far for Rust. I have my alpha nodes running. I think I have two or three of them. I built a third, yeah, and then been working on the guides for them for people and so on. How do you feel about it? Are you what are some takeaways initially here that you've seen? Congrats on the
Well,
success.
the Rust node is Michael's. It's not just Michael, but it was spearheaded by Michael. I am a user just like you. I didn't write a single line of code in there. I keep clarifying that I wasn't a part of this effort,
Yeah.
just maybe a part of generating the hype and explaining why this effort is so awesome, but I wasn't directly involved in this release in any way. I think I wanted to do what's in Kaspa's best interest, so it's in its best interest that I wouldn't write any code because I'm a rather mediocre coder.
Okay.
But I ran the node on my laptop just to see how it works, and it synced in like 2 minutes, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Used to take an hour and a half, and people would say, what? But Bitcoin takes 2 days, and now it's like 2 minutes. And it's insane. And it's so light and it works so nicely. You really feel that your computer can do 100 times more work. 100 times more work is like 30 times more blocks.
Yeah.
And it's like, I always believed that it is possible because Michael has this annoying tendency to be right about everything. But uh, but after I ran it and saw how light it is, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's not gonna be a problem. It's gonna work just fine.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, I'm super excited to see where it goes. Hopefully get to witness the beta, and then obviously once the hard fork is in place and watch this thing go live. I'm curious. Here's another question that I had, because I have some confusion surrounding this, and maybe if you don't have the answer, that's okay. But so we potentially, moving to Rust, we're going to increase the amount of blocks per second, right?
Mhm.
That's my understanding. How does that affect mining? How does that affect mining rewards and finding blocks?
You're gonna get, say we increase the block rate by, say, I don't know, 30,
Mm-hmm.
then you're gonna get 30 times less reward per block, but you're gonna get 30 times more blocks.
Okay.
Your expected income is gonna be the same. However, there is a benefit to having higher block rates that it decreases the variance. So you know how it is. Like if you mine Bitcoin and you mine, I don't know, you have enough equipment to find a block every 5 days,
Mm-hmm.
then it's very common that you're not gonna get a block for 10 days and then you're gonna get 2 blocks at the same day. There is a lot of variance because the block delay of 10 minutes is not that smaller than the return of investment in days. Like it's like 3-4 orders of magnitude. And if you think about a block per, I don't know, 200, 300 milliseconds, and you compare 300 milliseconds to a day, this this difference in orders of magnitude is so huge that if you expect a block a day, you're probably going to see a block a day. There would be very small deviations. So good news for miners, especially small miners, is that they will see much less fluctuations in their income.
That's good. And that also means that there's potential for more miners to be able to mine to their own node, which means that you would potentially increase, of course, the amount of nodes on the network, which is good for decentralization of the network. I mean, it all seems pretty positive to me, right? You can solo mine with less hash power. And now your rewards don't go up, but the variance goes down, which means that you are still getting more reliable income, which removes basically lowers the need per hash rate to mine to a pool, right?
Yeah, this is the second order effect. Before that, the time you're going to wait for a block, the expected time, like on average, the time you're gonna wait for a block is it's your fraction of the network over the number of daily blocks. Right? If you have all of the sorry, it's opposite. But if you have all of the fraction of the network, you're gonna see all of the blocks, right? If Bitcoin produces, I think, 1,400 blocks a day, something like that. It's 140 blocks a day, right? Yes.
10-minute blocks, right?
Yes, something you get 6 blocks an hour. Yeah. So you're gonna need about one over the number of blocks created a day, fraction of the entire hash rate to have an expected gain of a daily block. So if in Kaspa we have 600 blocks more per time of blocks more per day, then you're gonna need a fraction smaller by a factor of 600. And once we move to 30 BPS, this reduces from 1 over 600 to 1 over 18,000, right? So I think it should be much less. We don't, okay, I'm sorry, my math is all off. Right now we make 600 times more blocks, and then we're gonna make 18,000. No, so yes. You're gonna, I understand what I did wrong. You're gonna need a fraction which is smaller by a factor of 18,000 than you would need for Bitcoin. So if for Bitcoin you need 1 over 140, then now we'll need 1 over 140 times 18,000. It's like 2.5 million, right? So much smaller fraction. And this also completely eliminates this entire variance thing, because in Bitcoin, if you expect a block per day, then you're gonna have like 4 days without a block and then a day with 4 blocks, etc. So if you want a margin of error, what people usually do is they take 2 standard deviations, and then they know that 95% of the days they're gonna see a block. And they need like something like a little bit more than 1% of this. So like Bitcoin can only hold about 100 miners with a steady daily income. And Kaspa can have about 2.5 million on 30 BPS, or just, I don't know how much it comes up to, like 18,000 or something like this for on 1 block a day.
Yeah, we might have to actually draw this out for people at some point. Be like, here's.
Yes, I made a Twitter thread about it.
Yeah, I think I was reading it, so I wanted to talk about that. Now, one thing that I haven't seen you talk about, which would be a little bit interesting, I'll bring this up, maybe you can answer it. Does the increase of blocks per second post move, to Rust, will that affect the amount of fees per transaction for the users on the network?
Obviously, yes, because if you have 30 times more blocks, then your throughput goes up. And if your throughput goes up, then essentially what determines the price of a transaction, roughly, it's going to be close to how much it costs to produce a block over the number of transactions you could fit in a block. If it costs a miner like $10 to produce a block, and a block can contain 100 transactions, then you're going to see like 10 cents per transaction fee. Of course, it's very approximate. It doesn't take into account like this, that people pay more fees for higher quality of service, or that miners can deny fees that are too low, and there is the dynamics of a fee market are very complicated. But essentially, the block space of a single transaction would cost less to produce, so it would have a smaller fee.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. So that makes sense for sure. Thanks, Shai, for coming on and clearing up a lot of this for us and discussing it and being willing to come on. I appreciate it a lot. You know, I think like a lot of the perception on things like Twitter can be like that we're disagreeing on something. So I like to get clarification on everything. And I appreciate that you're willing to do that. I learned a lot today, so thanks for teaching me and helping me out there. Where can people find you?
Mostly on Twitter, on Telegram. I also hang around Discord. Essentially, if you tag me on Discord, then eventually I will respond. My nickname there is Shai-2, because I had to switch account for some reason. And I think I'm mostly active on Twitter.
What does the Deshe mean?
The Deshe, it's just, I don't even know how to say it in English. It's like, you know, like the grass you have on your front lawn.
Okay.
That's Deshe. That's the meaning of the word. And it's just this silly nickname I have had since I was 13. It's like, it's a really silly story. I just put it as my nickname in the ICQ.
Yeah.
So that it would be easy to find me. And then people started calling me that in real life, and it just stuck with me for almost 25 years, I guess.
Awesome. Cool. We all have those internet usernames that we've had way too long and probably shouldn't have created when we were 13. But
yes, and one more thing, just another concern I want to alleviate about something which I saw in your tweets. I just want to make this perfectly clear that my jawline is incredible.
I'm sure it is. Well, you'll get a pass. I think there was the other, because I did the one with don't date a woman that has a Snapchat. So I had to like even it out and do like a man one as well. So I got to think of some more ones, but that was the only one I could think of. The meme that somebody made after that or found was pretty funny too. It had the guy that's usually like, and then it was like, oh, you shaved, and I don't know if you saw it in the replies. It was funny.
Yes, yeah, I think I know that one, like this comic one, right? Where he shaved his head and then he has like a baby face, like literal baby face.
Yeah, and the chin's like back. Yeah, I'm sure you have a strong chin, but you'll have to show us sometime. I don't know. Maybe.
When Kaspa reaches $1, I'll shave my beard.
There you go. When Kaspa reaches, I'm going to hold you to that now.
Yeah,
That's done. All right. When Kaspa reaches $1, Mr. Shai here is going to shave his beard. Thank you for coming on again. Everybody else,
thanks for having me.
I'll see you next Tuesday. Today's sponsor is myself. I recently launched a crypto mining e-course at sonofatech.com, and it includes 9 steps to cover when you decide to start your crypto mining journey. This is specifically pertaining to 2023 crypto mining profits and taking advantage of the down market to achieve skyrocketing growth as we move into the next halving of Bitcoin. You'll learn buying mining equipment in a bear market, using outside investment to speculative mine, begin mining once profit is established, sell mine crypto to pay for electricity, hold and prep for the bull run, sell at the top of the bull market, sell mining equipment at the top of the bull market, and begin investing in land and power so that you can bring in outside investors to utilize excess resources. Thanks everybody for your support, and I hope you enjoy the course. Let me know what you think of it in the comment section below.